Volám sa Katarína Stríčková a teším sa, že v rámci podcastov denníka N počúvate môj podcast v ženskom rode, ktorý tvoria rozhovory s inšpiratívnymi ženami. V ženskom rode sú totiž v slovenčine tie najsilnejšie slova: dôvera, pravda, spoľahlivosť, odvaha, múdrosť či pokora. Ale aj zrada, pýcha, nevera, závisť, prehra či smrť. Osobne som presvedčená, že nad nimi všetkými stoja láska a nádej. Nech vás naplňajú po každom vypočutom rozhovore. Today I was talking with world-famous Nigerian writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who says that
I believe in be kind, right? I believe in kindness. I don't believe in niceness. Niceness means you're performing for other people. You're putting other people before yourself. So you have little girls who, when they're being sexually abused, they don't talk about it because they've been told to be nice.
When I was told that Adichie will come to Slovakia on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the fall of communism in our country to accept honorary Central European of 2019 award, I literally jumped for joy. She is one of my most beloved writers. Her novels Purple Hibiscus, Half of a Yellow Sun, and Americanah have been translated into over 30 languages and won many international prizes and awards. Adichie's 2009 TED Talk, The Danger of a Single Story, is now one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time. Her talk, We Should All Be Feminists, has started a worldwide conversation about feminism. In Feminine Gender podcast, we talk about hope and love, as well as feminism, subtlety of today's misogyny, female bodies, and about the fact that women are first and foremost human beings with their own rights. I would like to start briefly. I scanned your social networks, and this visit to Bratislava seems to me like the 25th since May. You've been traveling to Paris, Nigeria, California, Washington, China, South Korea, Poland, whatever. In your frequent international travels, how often do you hear about sexism, misogyny, and feminist problems?
How often do I hear? Or
Yes.
I think maybe the question is what do I ever not hear? I always hear about feminism. And actually part of the reason that so the past few months, yes, I've been traveling a lot, which is really not the norm for me, but I just decided that I want to say yes to a few more things than I usually do out of a kind of curiosity. But really, honestly, because I want to hear about women's lives in other parts of the world. That's actually why. And it's just incredible everywhere I go. Obviously, there are women who now know that I'm interested in feminism. So in Germany, for example, I feel as though the story of feminism in Germany isn't one that I necessarily even knew about before I went to Germany. Because you hear about Germany being the biggest economy in Western Europe, you hear there's Angela Merkel. But I get there and women are talking about their stories, and it is incredible to me how much sexism is alive.
Really?
Yes.
What's the most shocking example, or examples, or
Mostly it's and the middle class women talking about how to be female, and this is a line a woman in Germany used, which I loved. She said there's Angela Merkel, then there is nothing for a long time, and then you get to a much lower level, and that's where women being there is normal. Mm-hmm. I found that very interesting.
So does it have any tendency of decreasing, or you find that this misogyny and sexism is just becoming more subtle?
I don't think it's decreasing. I think, yes, I think it's more subtle. I think that the history of feminism in the West, and it's interesting saying the West being here, because I know that that has a different meaning. But if somebody from Nigeria is saying the West, everybody in Europe is included.
30 years ago, we were not.
Right, I know. But that's why I say it's interesting to say that here. But I think when the fighting, the sort of the struggles against sexism that were well known and well documented, that happened, for example, with the English women, with the suffragettes, there was something very obvious and clear. You're fighting for the right to vote. You're fighting for the right to no longer be regarded as property. So that was very clear. I think what's happening now is not that sexism has decreased. It's that it's not as overt. So it's more subtle. It's less black and white. And I think that makes it more difficult. It makes it more difficult to talk about. It makes it more difficult to combat. Because mostly people will say, well, there's no problem. Women can vote. Everything is fine.
There are tendencies in the world, however, and it's coming over and over, including Slovakia right now, to control women's bodies. And I wonder how you see it, why freedom of choice and female bodies are so precious that men fight for them.
I don't actually think men think women's bodies are precious. I think men think women's bodies belong to them. But I think that throughout history, many fights, many social, political disputes have been carried out on women's bodies. So that there's a sense in which men own their bodies, women's bodies belong to everyone. I don't think that if men got pregnant that we would be having this conversation, because we wouldn't. Because men would think, it's my body, I get to do with it what I want to do with it. I mean, my sense of, and in the US, which is where I live part of the year, it's also a conversation happening now where people are talking about, I find it almost inconceivable to think that in the United States of America, it is possible that a woman's right to choose what to do with her body might not exist in the next few years. And there are many states that are passing laws that make it so difficult for women to have access to abortion. I feel strongly about this, and my general feeling is I think it's perfectly fine for people to be opposed to abortion, for a particular individual woman to be opposed to abortion for herself. Mm-hmm. I do not think it is fine to impose this on anybody else. I also think that religion plays a big role in it. And this idea of the woman as not an individual person, but a person whose role is to produce children, to care for other people. It's that idea. There's a sense in which so many cultures around the world just do not grant women that basic human individuality. Mm-hmm. So it's like, woman, you belong to us. Your goal is to have children. So when you get pregnant, we will force you to give birth. And there's something about it that when we really look at the root of it, it's that idea that women don't belong to themselves. That's what society tells us. And that's why I think it's important that every woman should have the right to a safe, legal abortion if she so chooses. There are many people who, in the name of religion, talk about how this shouldn't happen. And my feeling is it's perfectly fine to believe that it shouldn't happen. Don't do it. You shouldn't do it. But you cannot then think that you can force on somebody else what your religious beliefs are. You cannot. It's,
as you said, if it would be happening to men,
we wouldn't even be. We would not be having this conversation. If it suddenly turned out that the prostate, which is, and I like to talk about the prostate because it sort of has become for me a symbol of maleness, seeing as women don't have prostates. If, for example, the prostate, there was something to do with the prostate that somehow society said, no, men, you cannot have access to it, men would go crazy, Just imagine that suddenly in the world we said that, I don't know, because there's
compulsory vasectomy.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that?
Yes.
Oh, that's my body.
Yes.
Don't touch it.
Yes. That's actually very good. Yes, exactly. And if we said, you have to have it because society, because there's overpopulation, and actually the reason a pregnancy happens is there's a participation of the man.
You said that anger has a long history of bringing about positive change. And I very much like this phrase. What kind of good this expressing of anger or disagreement loudly can bring to women?
There are many consequences for women because, I think many women across cultures are socialized to believe that they should not be angry. And if they're angry, they should not show it. They should not admit to being angry. And I find this to be a means of control because I think societies realize that anger can lead to change. And so we socialize girls from the age of 2. That's when we start telling them, be nice, don't disagree, be nice. We don't tell that to boys. So boys grow up to become men who understand that anger is a human emotion that they can express. Girls grow up to be women who are constantly negotiating, constantly, you're angry, but you can't show it. The only way I think that it's sort of acceptable to the world is if a woman shows anger with tears, because then there's a sense in which weakness in a woman, tears are acceptable because it's not threatening. I'm a believer in anger. I'm a believer in talking about anger. Because I think that it's anger that has propelled me to when you've just had enough, or how I'm constantly told in Nigeria to shut up.
It's almost a rage.
Yeah, it's a rage.
Yeah.
I'm propelled by rage. And when I'm told to shut up, that's exactly when I will not shut up. And I find that often the response to women talking about women's issues is shut up. Nobody wants to engage with what you're saying. They tell you to shut up. And this desire to silence women, for me, because I'm quite happy if people disagree with me. I want to have a conversation. I want to have an argument. I want you to give me the chance to try and persuade you. But to tell me to shut up is in many ways to say that my anger is not valid and that my position is not valid. You're dismissing it without even looking at it. And it makes me even angrier.
And so if we actually show and listen to our emotion of anger, would it bring women more freedom?
Yes. It would. And it's not freedom in the sense that it means everything will be wonderful. It's simply that women should be allowed to have a full range of human emotion, and anger is one of them. And I really think, and this is my own crazy little theory, but depression rates are higher in women in general, even though men are more likely to, commit suicide from depression because, again, they're socialized not to ask for help. But women's depression rates are higher in general because I think it's that idea that women, because they're socialized not to express their anger, they turn it inwards. So just the case I'm making is not so much, anger will mean your life will be fantastic. Simply anger will make you more fully human, allowing yourself to feel the anger that you already feel. Every human being at some point gets angry. I think women in particular have many reasons to be angry. And it's like living in an oppressive system. You know something is very wrong, but you're being told nothing is wrong. There's a kind of... it's like there's a dissonance,
Slovaks should understand that. We've lived in that system, which only, stopped 30 years ago. And this dissonance can lead to frustration. And then, the depression is the automatic result of that. There are some new female faces in politics, and including Slovakia. You may know that first time ever Slovaks elected a female president. However, we still hear voices commenting on those women. They either smile too much and are too frivolous. They don't smile enough. They are too cold. They take care of their appearance. How posh. They do not. It's not good either. What's wrong with them? Do they have children? Do they take care of their children enough? How can they be good mothers if they are actually, performing their duties? Why do we judge successful women so harshly? I mean, and particularly, my second question is, why women do this to other successful women?
Yes. It's so funny. I was actually about to say that it's important to say that it's not just men who do this. In fact, women do it more. I was just looking at a study recently about women in American politics. And apparently, it's women voters who judge more harshly women politicians. When they ask questions about, what do you think about her performance, her appearance, they're very harsh. It's because we live in a misogynistic world, all of us, men and women. And I think there's something about people who are oppressed turning on one another. Mm-hmm. You're in this horrible pit together. And instead of sort of looking up at the person who put you in that damn pit, you turn around and tear each other apart. I think women, it's a result of misogyny. And it's important, I think, for me also often to say to people, but think about who's benefiting from the system. It's not women. When women tear other women down, women don't benefit, men do. So it's also important to think about that, right? Because it's fundamentally a system that benefits men. I find it, and I think there's also maybe a kind of fear.
Competition?
I don't know that it's necessarily a direct competition. It's more a kind of a mix of fear and resentment, because you're looking at somebody doing something that somewhere in your mind you don't think a woman can do, or you don't think a woman is allowed to do. Mm-hmm. I find that women are not supportive of revolutionary women. Mm-hmm. Women generally don't like women who step outside the conventions of what women are allowed to do. And I think about it a lot because I get it quite a bit. I
am sure you must. I would be surprised if you wouldn't.
I get it quite a bit. And when I started out, I remember just being so hurt and surprised and thinking, I expect men to come after me, but what? Right? Because and it's very naive and stupid now to think about it, but I really thought we're all in this together, right? Women. But I find that my core supporters are women. My core detractors are women. And it's on the subject of feminism, mm-hmm. not so much literature. And so I'm talking about something that's supposed to benefit all of us. But I think there's so many things when you've been socialized. It's really difficult. It's difficult to unlearn the things mm-hmm. you've learned your whole life. I define my feminism, among other things, as a system of unlearning. I'm still unlearning. Something happened to me.
So not learning, but unlearning. I understand.
Because we've learned so much that's bad for us. And by us, I mean women. Women are socialized in ways that, in my opinion, can be deeply dangerous for them. Be nice. Be nice can be such a bad thing. I believe in be kind, right? Mm-hmm. I believe in kindness. I don't believe in niceness. Niceness means you're performing for other people. You're putting other people before yourself. So you have little girls who, when they're being sexually abused, they don't talk about it because they've been told to be nice.
And take care of others.
Yes, you take care of others. You come last. Everybody comes before you, right? So I think women have been socialized in that way for so long that suddenly to see a woman who dares to put herself first, who dares to seek power, it makes many women uncomfortable.
And because sometimes maybe jealous, no?
Well, yeah.
Maybe they would also want something.
Yes, because it's a life they wish they could live. Mm. But in addition to that, by your action, you're casting judgment on their own choices, right? Because you're then sort of out there seeking power. Their entire lives, they have felt that they cannot seek power. So your very existence is a judgment on them, and they don't like it.
Mm. Do you think that clever and successful women should support other women? Actively clever, actively supporting other clever women.
Yes, as long as those clever women do not support policies that are bad for women. Yes,
I understand. Because it's not really a question. It's just the kind of experience that sometimes I wish women would show active support to others, because I think that it just might be that you are not she's not clever enough, or she's not ambitious enough. It's just that at that precise moment you may not have the same starting point because of, I don't know, being a mother of two and becoming someone who needs to return to the labor market, and you don't have the same starting position, and you just need that helping hand.
Yeah. I think women should. I mean, my life is one in which I'm a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who passed away recently, who his name was Binyavanga Wainaina. He was Kenyan, and we were very close. And I remember once I was very hurt about something, a woman that I had really gone out of my way to support, and something she had done. And he looked at me and he said, you know, your problem is that your default is constantly to forgive women. And he said it as though this is not something you should be doing. You know, he sort of made it seem like you shouldn't excuse or support or forgive women just because they are women. But there's also a part of me that I want to treat women how I want other women to treat me. I want to, and I think also I like women. I mean, I think that there's certain women who don't like other women. I think so. I mean, and I can tell. I like women. I think maybe there's also a part of me that in unlearning all of the nonsense that I learned growing up, this idea that we should see one another constantly as competition, it's just, I really don't like that. And so when I talk to young women in Nigeria, sometimes I say to them, all right, I want you to tell me this. What if the door opens and this gorgeous young woman walks in, fantastically dressed, just looks like she has everything going on? What are you going to think? And I said, be honest. And almost all of them said something very negative. If we said that to men, it would be different. Men
what would they say?
I haven't, and I will, because I want to talk to more boys, really. I'm very interested in talking to boys because we have to. Boys have to be part of this conversation. But in general, just from talking to individual men, it's not that men don't compete with one another, but it's not an automatic... it's often more targeted. It's often, quite honestly, some men will not even notice that man walk in.
I would say so.
Yeah, they just wouldn't even...
Or they would say, oh, hi, mate.
Yeah, they just would keep going on. But the women are looking at her, judging her, already throwing so much negativity at her. I mean...
how well I know that.
But we have to remember that there are some women who are not like this. So I used to say, in thinking about...
Hopefully there are.
Yeah, they are.
Hopefully
they are,
at least
the
two of us.
No, they are. They absolutely are.
Oh, my listeners, definitely. I have a great bunch of listeners. Being a full person, that's another thing I really much like from what you wrote. You are working hard, as I can see. And still you are a parent, a member of family. I'm not talking only about wife and husband, but family. How do you personally cope with doing the best in all your roles you have?
I don't think I'm doing my best in any role. And I think it's a lie to tell women that they can be perfect. Even the idea of a perfect mother, I'm starting to really reject, because it's also it comes from a kind of individualism that I don't like. I like the idea. I really do believe that it takes a village to raise a child. And I'm trying to create that village for my child. It's different now because, because we don't live in villages, but she has aunties and uncles. So I decided when she was born, even before she was born, that I would have a life. She was born, I fell utterly in love. I am just so hopelessly in love with my child. It is ridiculous. I think she's just the most gorgeous human in the world.
There are 3 more living in my house.
and spending time with her became just so joyous. And I started to, but at the same time, it was very clear to me that I could never be a person who was only a mother, because it was unfulfilling. But I also, when I would then make the choice to, take time for myself, I need to write, I need to travel, I started to feel guilt, and I'm still, there are moments when I think, my God, so I have these very set rules about travel. I will not be away from home for more than 3 nights in a row. And if I'm going to be, then she's coming with me, right? Especially because she's quite young. When she's 12, she's 4.
That's a sweet age.
Very. She's very, very,
she
very
must be adorable.
She really is. She's so funny and so clever, and she just cracks me up. And I also kind of don't want to miss out on these early years, because when she's 12, she probably won't have time for me. So.
No, she will.
Really?
She will, yeah.
Okay.
I have 3 boys, and one of them is 12, and he really likes
Really?
it.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah. Don't worry. It really depends on the relationship, the openness, and how much you talk to your children. That's what I think. You need to talk to them.
I agree.
Before I finish, I know that you must hear this often. You look gorgeous.
I like hearing it.
But still, you are a black woman.
Yes.
Young.
Ish.
No, young. We are the same age. Good-looking young black woman from Nigeria. How come that you have found a language to talk to so many people around the world on quite a lot of subjects?
I don't know.
And be heard.
Do you know, I honestly don't know. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I have no fucking idea how the hell that happened. I like to think, I really don't know. Because, and I say that obviously, and your question is based on listing these things. Yes, good looking, right? Yes. But I'm black and I'm young, and I'm female. Those things together just don't make for a privileged position.
Exactly.
In the
That's
world.
why I actually told them.
Yeah. I don't know. And I don't want to think about it too much, because there's a kind of, one of the things I want to avoid is I don't want to watch myself too much. I'm a very self-aware person, emotionally, but I don't want to be my own therapist. I don't want to say it's because I am ABC. Because then I worry that I will no longer be my authentic self, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. My listeners cannot see this, but I am holding a book. And I'm becoming very emotional. Because I read quite a lot, I must say. I really love books, and I do read them. And I'm holding a book which is very likely the strongest book I've ever read. And when I finished the last page of Half of a Yellow Sun, my heart broke. I felt like someone came to me and tore my heart apart. And I was hopeless for days. I felt like I lost my sister, which in fact I never had. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
I hope you are writing another one.
This is the kind of question that puts you in a panic. So I'm just going to pretend that you didn't ask.
I will pretend I never asked. I wish you a lot of good journeys.
Thank you.
Safe trips home.
Thank you.
To your daughter. And I very much thank you for this opportunity. Because in fact, and I must say that aloud, for me, this is an exact example of a powerful woman supporting another woman in time when she needed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katka. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Ďakujem, že ste počúvali môj podcast v ženskom rode. Ak vás tento rozhovor zaujal, vypočujte si aj tie ostatné. V ženskom rode môžete sledovať a zdieľať aj na Facebooku. Napíšte mi svoje názory, nápady a hodnotenie. Už o týždeň v stredu sa na vás teším s novým dielom.